Hi, this is Fabian Bautista. Yeah. So for GIMM 200, there is kind of like a second portion of the projects you're going to be expected to be doing. It is called visual storytelling. Not all of it is just UX development. For Doty's class, I'm not sure about a mods class. You do get to draw and do a bunch of stuff. So for Doty's classes, usually she has them structured out kind of weekly. I think the structures being a bit more loose in that they're not due kind of like every week, or at least drawing assignments not every week. But essentially, you have some sort of like topic or idea or whatever in relation to what you guys were just learning it in class. So with 200, you're primarily expected to be using either Photoshop or Illustrator. You can choose whatever one you want. You have to mess around with at least both of them at least once, and then you can just do whatever you want afterwards. So for the first assignment, she had us primarily use Photoshop to create like a grayscale background, which grayscale just means essentially no actual chroma, just only value and whatnot. So that's what we were kind of expected to do in week one. In week two, we're essentially expected to get that same drawing that we did in week one, essentially put a bunch of, I think, masks and all that on top of it, and essentially just give it some color and all that. There's specific requirements for each drawing assignment C looks for. I can't remember what they are on the top of my head because this was about 2 years ago. But for each assignment, it, like I said, it usually relates to whatever you're learning in class and all that. And each assignment goes into something more specific. A big thing with Doty's visual development or visual storytelling class is that you usually have to embed it into some sort of level of concept. Oh, this was the Illustrator example thing or whatever, because like I said, we had to mess around with both Photoshop and Illustrator, so there's that. Like I was saying, you usually have to do some level of concepting in this class because it is visual storytelling, and a lot of concepting and iteration and all that is done within the medium. So for week four, last one was week three. For week four, we essentially was just character design, I think a creature design, one of the two, and we had to create our own character concept or whatever with a bunch of like concept sketches. I chose to do one of my older OC's original characters, which is just this guy, and by the end of the semester, I turned it into this and whatnot. Yeah, you don't have to do this for the creature assignment. I don't believe so. There is an assignment later on that's just like, do whatever you want during the spring and come back with what you've got and whatnot. This is what I turned in. Yeah, week five was more or less character concepting 2.0, so just more time for you to do a different character and whatnot. All of these were done in Photoshop, most of them. I think one's done in Illustrator. Week six is interesting because another thing for 200 is that you're going to be creating a 3D model. If you haven't, you will be creating a 3D model of some type of like spaceship. I don't know if it's done in Maya because I took the class during online COVID time, so we had to primarily use Blender. But essentially, you're going to also be doing concept art for your spaceship or whatnot, and then create kind of like a final sketch iteration of like what do you want, just so you can translate it into a 3D model, which I did right here. So that's week 5 or 6, I don't remember. Week 7, I think, is this one. Week 7 is about like props, environments, like random little oddities, vehicles, and all that. So week 7, you're expected to create some type of vehicle, prop, whatever, draw it out into Photoshop along with concept sketching. Concept sketching is really important in this class. And after that, I believe is a logo. Yeah, it's a logo design of whatever you want. It's kind of similar to the, I think, 100 logo animated project. A big thing also I should mention, I chose to do to represent this week, I chose to choose a week with like text and whatnot, because making sure you have like different notes and ideas of or ideas of what exactly you're thinking about different things. That's pretty important for concept and iteration. Probably not as intense as I did, but at least some ideas of like what are you thinking about, all this type of stuff. And yeah, I believe after this point, that's essentially it. I think there's only just essentially 8 projects plus the 3D modeling. There might be less. I'm not entirely sure. There might be more, but yeah, that's essentially the drawing projects for 200 with Doty.